So as we continue on our dash, our wood pieces for the center here are just too thick. When we compare our old Stet, you can see how thin it is, and our new one is so much thicker. So what I've been doing is I have my belt sander with a low grit. This is an 80 grit. 40 grit would save me a lot of time, but all I had was 80. And I've been trimming it down so you can see how much thinner it's gotten by just rubbing it on the belt sander. And I've just been running it through just like this, shaving it down little by little. Now if you have a table saw, you could flip it up and cut it in half, but that's getting really close to the blade and I don't like that. So what I've been doing is just taking my digital caliper, our factory trim piece, when we measure it, if I can do it one-handed. Maybe not. All right, we're gonna go like this. So when we take our factory piece, is about 3.4 millimeters. And this one that we've just got done shaving is just a little thinner than that. And you can just see how much bigger. We've got a lot to shave on this one. So all I've been doing is taking it, shaving it down little by little on the belt sander and getting it to the correct thickness. Trying to make it even, but the back side isn't really going to be showing. So just got to clean it off a little bit. And then once these are to size, we can start staining. Alright, so we've got our original and our two trim down pieces. We're going to double check. Thickness 3.3 on the original factory one. And we are at just 2.8 on that one. We had a little too much. 3.48, so we're right on the other side. 3.09 and 3.2. So we're actually pretty close on these, and that's just for sanding it down little by little. And now that those are done, just a little thinner, but that means that our rheostats in the middle, our wiper speed, and our dimmer that are in the center console there will all clear, so we can fully get this in. Now that these are trimmed down, we can start staining all the pieces with our stain of choice. You could really go with anything. It's your car, make it your own. We're going to try, I think, and try and keep this kind of color. It's really whatever's in the cabinet. So we're going to make those work for us. And then we're going to put several coats. I'm not going to make y'all watch paint dry. Literally, watch paint dry. So we're going to get those stained up, dried up, and then we're actually going to start tackling the dash because we have to reuse our original one. And we're going to start filling it in, and we'll show you how to do that. All right, so we got our dash on the bench. You can see all these massive cracks and gouges just from being dried out from the sun. So the first thing we've done is removed our vents, and they've just got these little metal tabs. You push them in, and they should be able to pop from the bottom up, and you should be able to get those out as one big assembly. This is a really good time to take them apart, clean them up, but you got to be careful with this plastic. It is old plastic that's been in the sun, so you want to make sure you don't crack it. But we'll want to make sure we clean all these grills, because otherwise this dusty black looks really bad against our new vinyl that we're going to put on here. So what we're going to want to do is remove all this, whatever this double-sided Velcro is on here. You can see how protected it is underneath that. But once we remove all this, we're going to take some foam filler. This was just at the hardware store for tight spaces. So we're going to fill in all these. It's going to overflow quite a bit. But the way that I'm trying to do this is think about Bondo and body work. You want to fill the crack completely, and we're going to want to sand it completely smooth. So these do come to kind of a point here, and like this one here for our vent is expanded quite a bit, where it's kind of flowered open. So that one we may be a little out of luck on unless we cut it all out and reform it and shape it out of the foam, which we could do, but that's just a lot of work on that, because we're going to end up putting a marine vinyl black on top of this. I'm gonna sew one together with the help of my oh so helpful wife, and we're just going to fill all these in, and the vinyl is just going to take the shape of what's underneath it, just like paint. So as smooth as we can get these, the better, and hopefully that foam will help us out. And on the front of our dash, we do have situations like this where the material is just peeling off. So we'll want to cut off as much of that as possible, and hopefully we'll be able to cover those up pretty easily with the vinyl that'll take up these little bubbles and indentations. You know, I'm not going to hold my breath, but all we're going to do is we're going to clean this up, fill in these cracks, sand it down, make it smooth. Pretty straightforward process. I'll show you all some of it, but let's just get started. One of the first things I'm going to want to do is remove all this old stuff on the outside. So I'm just taking my Dremel tool and start cleaning these up. So as I've got that in there now, I'm going to be wiping off all the excess. It's going to save myself the hassle of extra sanding later while it's still pliable. But it's already starting to get super sticky. So all the stuff that's in a straight up is just fine. We'll be able to cut that with a knife once it fills in that crack and dries, solidifies. But all the stuff that kind of dragged around, it's really tacky. So we want to make sure we get all that excess off. So it's been about an hour, and this foam is starting to harden up. It does have some flexibility to it, which is just like our original dash does, that padded feeling. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a straight blade, and we should be able to cut straight through it and try and get it as flush as possible. That way it'll save us some time on the sanding part of it. So we're going to cut off all this excess here and get it all nice and smooth. So as we take a closer look at these cracks, you can see that the filler actually got all the way down in the cracks, and it's still got some of that give to it. So it should match the theoretical softness of our dash. But it filled those cracks all the way down. We didn't make it all the way around this corner, but this is such a small gap that I think the new cover will get through all that, so I'm not worried about that. Still got to trim off some of the stuff that's poking up here, but we made it into these gaps pretty good. We got to sand off this little bit of stuff. I want to be super careful when I sand because you can really grip some of this and rip it out, and we have to start all over again. So we're just going to sand it as flush as possible. That way we get rid of those kind of ridges and waves that are in it as best as we can. I'm not looking for perfection here, but I need at least something better than that. So we're going to sand. While we've been letting this cure, we've, as you've seen, getting these grills cleaned up. They're not perfect, but they're a heck of a lot better than they were. Those are finishing drying, and we cut off all that excess. So let's get to sanding these down and seeing what it comes out like. So we finally got it all sanded down. You can see it kind of flushed up. We do have some small gaps here and there still, but the new vinyl that we're going to put on top of it will really make up those gaps. It's a pretty thick material, at least when it comes to fabric, and it has a little bit of grace, if you want to call it, to fill in these little gaps here and there. We did our best to smooth down the humps where the cracks had really opened up. They're not perfect by any means, but we scuffed up the entire dash all the way up the front, broke off any sort of loose stuff that was on the front, and we finally got it smooth enough to where you can feel the ridges, you can feel the gaps, but if you go any more, we're really going to start really opening them up. And like I said, I'm not looking for perfection, but it's going to be a lot better. And you can see it's totally scuffed up. That way we can start cutting out and measuring for our vinyl. What I got was a marine RV grade weather resistant black vinyl, and we're going to see what kind of design we can come up with. Very common is there's a stitch along the whole top. That looks pretty good. Some people have just kind of made it all one piece. I think that's going to be pretty challenging with the crease and getting it all cut correctly. So maybe 2 pieces and then sewing it into like an L shape. Like that might be the way to go. Some people have hidden the seams on the edges here, just on the bottom, on this corner and the other corner. So we'll see, but I'm going to bring y'all in. And you can see how it's nice and smooth, fills up the gap, just like that. There are little spots here and there where the foam didn't quite make it, but like that one there. But it fills the gap pretty well. So I think the vinyl is really going to make up for that and make a difference. And you can see our hole is still distorted a little bit, but that would take some major squeezing and adjusting, 40, 50-year-old foam, and I'm not really interested in that. So we've got it all scuffed up all the way around, all good to go to attach some fabric. That vinyl, it's got a nice backing on it also to help it adhere to the surface. So now that this is done, we can let everything dry, let it really cure, and then we can move on to designing the fabric. Alright guys, so we've moved inside. We have our nice new material. We got 2 yards of this. It's 54 inches long, which is actually wider than our dash, so it actually worked out really well. We've also got ourselves some adhesive. This is good for weather and sun and water resistant and all the good stuff. So we've got this one. It's heavy duty. Got ourselves some scissors, and we scuffed up the dash with some coarser grit sandpaper. That way the glue and the new material will really stick on there. We also brought in our heat gun with us. We're going to start on the top and slowly start working it forward into the crevice here and along the edge. We're going to try and do it all in one piece rather than sewing it. I think sewing 2 pieces together is going to make it a little complicated because you've got to have margins for sewing and things like that. So we're going to try it this way. We have plenty of material, so if this doesn't work out, we can always go to the sewing method with 2 pieces and see how that works out. But cross your fingers, we're going to be able to do it like this. I'm excited to get it recovered, so say goodbye to all this mess and on with the nice new black stuff. So we've got the top laid on, and it's actually laying down pretty smooth. There's still little imperfections from our tears in our dash, but it's already looking 100 times better, way better. So we're gonna keep going. We're gonna let this dry for a little bit before we start pulling on it, to start curving the front and starting to get these funky corners tucked in and rolled in and all that stuff. So I think what we're gonna have to do is do a middle cut relief. That way we can get these corners tucked in really well, and around this corner is going to be kind of tough. So the top's the easy part. So we're going to let that dry and we're going to come to the front. So here we go. We got our dash fully installed. Everything fits. There was some slight trimming still needed to be done to make it all fit nice and evenly. But you can see how much better this dash looks with just a cover on it. You can still see a little bit of the bumps from where the cracks are underneath. But if we did some more sanding, we probably could have got that down to nothing. You did see that I did have to trim in the middle because there's so much slack, just the way that it curved. And I actually folded it over to make it look a nice crease there. So it kind of plays along with it. It looks nice with the finished edge, and it's right in the middle. But you can see just how much nicer this looks. All the gauges in there, everything is installed on it. Our clock still needs to be repaired, so don't judge the clock. But it looks so much better. Our glove box and everything is reinstalled. Fits nicely. It is a little tight in that corner, but we can always adjust that later. You can see it's hanging forward just a little bit. But I'm really happy with this color, the way that the dash turned out. I was really hesitant covering this just because I wasn't sure how it was going to look. But I'm really, really happy with it. And I knew it was going to fit because it's the exact one that came out of the car. So you can't go wrong with that. And a good cleaning and some weather protectant on there should make this last for a really long time. We have not clear coated the dash yet. We probably will. We can always remove this and clear coat it. Or if we want to, just keep it like this for a long time, and then if it does start to fade, just make a new set and change up the color and do something a little different. Who knows? But I'm really happy with the way this turned out, and it just looks really, really good. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this episode. We spent a couple dollars on the spray foam, about $25 on the vinyl to rewrap the dash, and about $10 in wood, some stain and brushes, and some other pieces that we already had laying around the garage to refinish this dash. It's something you can definitely do on the weekend. I really enjoy doing it, and you can really make this as creative as you want. That's kind of the nice thing about wood, is different kinds you can use, different thicknesses, different styles and textures, and stains and coats and all that good stuff. You can even paint it or put a wrap on it. You can really make it your own, and so that's what I really like about this. But I kind of like the classic look and the way we went with the darker stained wood to really bring it a little bit more classy, if you want to call it that. But I had a lot of fun with this project. Hope you guys really enjoyed this one. Just make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, we'll see ya.